As you can see that this is a massive aerial fight right now. It's going on. They're trying to disperse people, but they are not ready to leave the area.
I'm reporting for Indus News from Hamid Karzai International Airport's military airbase Abbey Gate, and I'll be keeping you posted about any information that comes our way.
Hello and welcome to Newswire. I am Munib Hamid, the host. You saw the brave Sumaira Khan, our correspondent who covered all the recent developments in Kabul fearlessly and managing to be present at all major happenings as they happen. Ladies and gentlemen, she was the only female journalist from Pakistan in Afghanistan and the first to talk to the Taliban commanders and to interview them also. She stood tall while covering a story even during live intense firing and while the others were running to safety. But she performed her journalistic duties, keeping aside all the threats and fear which any normal person would have not been able to. Welcome, Sumaira Khan, first of all back to Pakistan. And how do you feel being back in Pakistan? And obviously, do share your experiences of being the only female journalist from Pakistan covering Afghanistan as it happened after the Taliban.
Thank you so much, Munib, for inviting me, obviously. And first of all, it always it feels lovely whenever you are back to your motherland. And Pakistan is obviously a feeling because we all bleed green. So when we believe that in our veins there is no blood, but there is Pakistan. So obviously we keep aside our even journalistic professional responsibilities. And when we come back to our own country and it's our own soil, then obviously you feel awesome, and I really feel awesome being back in Pakistan. And talking about the experience as the only female journalist in Kabul after the fall of Kabul. Yes, I saw a couple of Western journalists, those female journalists who were they were reporting for a few media outlets over there. But amazingly, to my shock and wonder, I still am totally unable to gather that. Why I'm unable to figure out that as well, that why they left immediately after fall of Kabul, and till the moment they were reporting, till the last moment they were reporting, they were fixated over some negative stuff from Kabul, because there were a lot of things to be covered from ground realities. But I'm just thinking about it. But till the last moment when I was in Kabul, I just thought that it's the BBC's anchor Lizzie Duche, and even she was reporting from the either from the rooftop of hotel or from the Kabul International Airport, which was the only spot in the city that was totally representing the unrest for the Taliban's rule. And the Western media believed that, and the Western world believed that if the unrest is going on in the outskirts of Kabul airport, it means the unrest is prevailing in the entire city, which was not true, obviously.
Right, now, Sumaira, let's begin. Obviously, you were on the ground reporting all the latest developments as they were happening. What were the public sentiments on ground when the US forces were present and as soon as they fled, or shall I say left?
I think, Munib, it's a bit of a dilemma right now, not just for a journalist. It's a dilemma for the people, for the masses of Afghanistan, that there were two categories of people. One was thinking that yes, Americans should have stayed here, they shouldn't have abandoned us, and they were the only power in the world that was feeding the Afghans, which is totally untrue. It's really, it's a myth created by the elitist Afghanites who were little successful in making the people believe that yes, we need Americans, we need foreign forces to give that feeling of cool, calm and rest and peace in Afghanistan. And you know, and I know that it's not true. It's the 80% of the population of Afghanistan that lives in the rural areas, and usually we don't talk about them. we are only seeing Kabul as the face of Afghanistan, and once again, it's a myth. The 80% population of Afghanistan, because I traveled to few provinces due to security situation, I stayed close to Kabul, but I tried to travel to the adjacent provinces, Laghman, Parwan, Logar, Vardag, and a very famous Nangarhar province, Jalalabad. So I got that feeling that people are they are concerned about their living, their businesses, their shops, their markets, their daily basis routine. So they really are not bothered what's happening on the upper levels of the governments. Because one person I talked to, he was he was a very famous business personality, and he stayed on one of the key posts of the government as well. And he was shockingly revealing that we are very happy that we are no more facing the extortion from the security forces, and Taliban are not asking, they are not demanding any kind of extra money. They are not charging us.
So the US
anything.
forces used to ask for extortion
the Afghan
money.
forces,
the Afghan
former
forces
Afghan
backed
forces,
by the US forces.
And you must have heard some very pretty stories of corruption from
oh yes,
the
those
streets
are all
of Kabul and the outskirts.
All right, now let's talk about the public sentiments again, about the Taliban coming to power. Now, what are the ground sentiments of the normal people living on the ground? As you said, 80% of Afghanistan lives in rural areas, whereas they are not bothered by who is leading or whatever is happening in the country. But at some stage, obviously, they have to be bothered by who is leading them. So somewhere, of course. Exactly. So the Taliban coming into power, what are the sentiments on ground?
They were scared. When I traveled to Kabul, I guess it was the second day of fall of Kabul. When I reached Kabul, there was a sentiment in the air. People were scared, people were afraid. Whenever they used to see the foot soldier of Taliban on streets roaming around with that AK-47 and SMGs and extremely modern, heavily weaponized and militarily loaded the Taliban foot soldier, and they were harsh. Indeed, they were harsh, but towards men. Like there is a little instance, I'll just share that
Please.
with you. When I was reporting from Jalalabad, it was the Mukhabarat Square, which is very famous in Jalalabad city, and it's a provincial capital as well, so very crowded. When I started my piece to camera, and I was thinking that I'll do it and I'll send it to the head office immediately, and you guys can then do your reports on that. Immediately, in a moment, I saw that literally tens of men started encircling me. Like, they were really happy, they were really shocked that a lady from Pakistan, she's reporting from. But that was not appropriate. Like, the Taliban contingent that was patrolling on the road, they did, they took it as inappropriate for a lady who's reporting from there. So they immediately came to rescue. They cleared the area and they told me that, please, you can do whatever you want to do. We are here, so don't feel kind of scared. We are here to support you.
Support you.
It was a kind of a good thing, like facilitating, accommodating, supportive. They did not ask me to cover my head. They did not ask me to leave the area. Yes, they were there, and they did not let happen any untoward scene over there. They did not let any man come near.
Okay, now I want to interrupt
me.
you in here now. You said they did not ask you to cover your head and to obviously, force that Sharia veil that they asked the women to do so. But we see a lot of reports coming from the Western media and from also our immediate neighbor on the right side, if you understand what I'm talking about now.
I get you.
They are presenting a very cage-like situation of the women in Afghanistan. So how did you see that?
Munib, as I shared with you, around 80 to 85% women of Afghanistan, they live in rural areas, and they wear those, not just an ordinary fashionable burqa or abaya. They literally wear that shuttlecock burqa, which is ingressed over there for ages,
that is
for
their
centuries.
Culture.
It's part of their culture and tradition. There was nobody to impose that burqa on Afghan women. It's part of their own ground culture, which is there, set in place for centuries. So when people were trying to connect that burqaism with the control of Taliban, it was hilarious for me that Either you don't have an idea what Afghanistan is, or you are trying to portray a different Afghanistan from the previous regime. So there is another interesting statement from Gulbuddin Hikmatyar, head of Hizb Islami and twice Prime Minister. And he is more strict in those kind of things than Taliban. He was the one who said, yes, Afghan women are like, they are owner of their own choice. It should be them who should decide everything for themselves. West and any foreign country or any foreign NGO or any foreign dignitary, they don't have any right to decide on behalf of Afghan women. So, but once again, I was not asked. Even if I report from Balochistan, I report from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or the erstwhile FATA, you must have seen me that I carry a chadar or a proper veil around me, because it's the part of tradition. In that way, we are just paying a level of respect to those areas. It's not that kind of a thing that somebody is imposing on Sumaira Khan that you can't report from here unless you wear a chadar or a burqa or abaya. And there is another example. When people are visiting Saudi Arabia, KSA, there is a rule. It's by law that any woman from any country, she has to wear a burqa. She has to cover her face even. So why we are not talking about KSA because it's the richest elite, and we are trying to portray Afghanistan as a negative evil because it's not that elite like as KSA. So there are two contrary behaviors from Western media towards Afghanistan and any other country. It's like upon their wish and whim that they are trying to portray those countries as.
Right, that's a very important point you just made. Now, let's talk about the departure of the US forces now. Now, the US forces departure was a victory claimed by Joe Biden, and he said that he achieved all that the US wanted to achieve. And the Taliban claim victory at the same place, that they say they defeated the ultra superpower of the world in Afghanistan, and they gave them a good beating for 20 years. So who is the real victorious group here?
Munib, I think Taliban are right in claiming that, because it's been 20 years. You just travel back to 7th October 2001. You must have seen the place. It was terrible. The first bombing in Nangarhar province and the last bombing on the heart of Kabul. It's from the history, like if you travel through history, it's the first drone attack on Kabul. US never went for never went too far in attacking Kabul, and in their drone history, if they are coming and attacking Kabul, it seems like they are frustrating. They are outgoing, but they want to leave kind of trajectory that yes, we are leaving Afghanistan, but after winning something, and in just to create that picture or to convey to the international community that yes, we are leaving as a winner, as the conqueror. They were like, we found them doing some things that were literally declared by the international community as silly. So that was one of the silliest things, that they bombarded Kabul and then they airstriked Nangarhar just to say that we bombarded the hideouts of IS-ISK. So people started asking, where was IS-ISK in those last years, and why it always, like, it's all of a sudden it's resurrecting itself when US is leaving. So, but there are so many myths, Munib. I was speaking to one of my a very good friend from the US soldiers, and he was assisting the press office at Hamid Karzai International Airport. Because when we visited the area, we saw a lot of things that we can do, a lot of programs on that. But cutting the long story in short, US, yes, it was embarrassed. And the day they issued that picture of Major General Chris Duneau as one of the pictures that should be part of history, but even that picture has become a source of embarrassment for them, because he was not in a kind of gesture that he should have been.
So the superpower got defeated by the men from the mountain.
And the interesting thing, they had dinner together.
They had dinner together.
They had dinner together. They handed over the airbase properly in a way that one retreating force hands over the, like, I won't use the word surrender. I know you're waiting for that, but I won't use that. But they acted kind of, a retreating force does that. So we were seeing that, we were following that. A few, like I think a number of stuff is still classified, but that was shared with us. But we heard that they had a dinner together, they handed over the airbase properly to Taliban, the 313 Badri security force, and the Al-Fateh security force was left alone to secure the outskirts of Kabul. And when that famous C-17 Globemaster, when it just got disconnected from the ATC, they chanted Allahu Akbar and Nare Takbir, and they were inside the airport, everywhere. So it does give a kind of a message to the international community that it's the same force that left Bagram Air Base on 2nd July without even informing the legitimate government of Ashraf Ghani. But the Hamid Karzai International Airport was handed over to Taliban
after dinner.
The supposed enemy of US in a proper ceremony.
Right now, so you just said they had dinner, so obviously, which proves that they were having back-channel communications.
Obviously.
And if they were having back-channel communications, now I want to ask you about the weapons that the US left or surrendered to the Taliban. Obviously, $85 billion worth of weapons.
Exactly.
What is the on-ground real truth about those weapons?
It's like it is based on truth. And we have seen that the entire airport, although it looked like a junkyard to us, because they just thrashed it. And I don't know, for some classified reasons, maybe because militaries always they have their skeletons in the cupboards, so they better know why they did that. But internationally, it's being looked down upon. They did not do something good. They destroyed the entire Air Force of foreign Afghan forces, and people are criticizing that. But when we entered the airport the next afternoon, we did not like the scene. It was all thrashed, it was all pushed, it was all destroyed. According to my information, 25 Humvees and armored vehicles, and 80 aircrafts, including Chinooks and different kinds of choppers, and another cache of ammunition that was totally destroyed, alongside their camp offices. And even those camp offices were worth of millions of dollars. So they just kept on destroying everything. I just told you, they were not okay. I felt a lot of US soldiers who were present at the duty of scrutinizing everything, what is going on inside the airbase, what's going on outside the airbase. Majority of their soldiers, they were psychologically under pressure. And you must have seen some video clips that they are pushing women from the concrete blocks, and they were literally having like enough is enough kind of moment. So I saw them handling that psychological wave as well. So
now, coming back to the weapons, now the audience also watching this program right now, they want to know that the superpower, I beg your pardon, does not just leave $85 billion worth weapons in Afghanistan. Were they in such a rush, or were they not allowed to take them with them?
They couldn't. Like you see, they took 20 years to transport all those weapons, cars, and Pakistan was their ground line communication, the famous GLC accord between Pakistan and US, because Pakistan is still acting as major non-NATO ally. Pakistan is not a NATO member, but it's the only country that has been given the title of major non-NATO ally. So Pakistan was used as the transportation artery towards Afghanistan from the generating source. And I think I don't have the exact figure, but back in time when I was at Pentagon, it was my question to the admiral over there who was giving us a brief that can you just give us a round figure, how what's the worth of that equipment you just transported through Pakistan? And he was unable to tell me. He did say that we are still in process, we are still doing that. It was back in 2014 when I was at IVLP over there. So imagine, even they did not have a clear figure of how many billions are these. So if they are claiming that we spent in trillions, I still doubt they must have been spending a lot of trillions that on paper right now. The figure on paper is not correct. But right now, the figure I am having is that, yes, from different parts of Afghanistan, we are still having information that $36 billion or more, it's going to be discovered from different parts of Afghanistan, specifically from Kandahar airfield, Mazar-e-Sharif and other airports. So collectively, it's going to be $36 billion worth of entire weapon. and cars.
And now the Taliban have those.
They have it. And interesting, they have 100 Mi-17s and Pakistan has 48 Mi-17s.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, the Taliban have greater number of Mi-17s, as Sumaira said, and they're greater than Pakistan. We're going to come back after a break, and Sumaira is still with us. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Newswire. I am Munib Hamid, and we have our brave correspondent Sumaira with us in studio. Now we're sharing her experiences of Kabul. Now, Sumaira, tell me, obviously the Taliban is a legitimate power in Afghanistan now, and the US is also accepting Taliban as the legitimate power. As we've heard comments coming from the US military now that they are planning to work together with the Taliban, who they've been fighting for 20 years, to fight against the collective enemy, which is the ISIK. So first of all, tell me, is there an ISIK? And after that, please do inform us if there is an official agreement, any sort, between the Taliban and the US forces.
Yes, I think we can break this news to our viewers now, because we have been after this news, and then we sort of got an information from well-placed sources that yes, they have gone in writing with the Taliban, and it all started with when they requested the Taliban to assist the security forces in securing the outskirts of the airport, and then the game started. So and you must have seen that hilarious picture that they were eyeball to eyeball and they were high-fiving and everything. So it was a moment in the history that 20 years back in 2001, US forces, foreign forces, I won't just blame US forces, foreign forces came to Afghanistan to safeguard a common Afghan from Taliban. And after 20 years, you are watching, you're witnessing the historical moments that the same forces are requesting Taliban to save them from Afghans. So it's like 180 degrees or whatever you just call it. But yes, we have information, and Secretary Blinken's remarks, they further cement it, that we are going to keep our cash flow into Afghanistan, but through international aid agencies. So it gives us an ample idea that yes, superpowers, they are always down to their game. They're always in there, but through different tactics. Once they form a legitimate government, by calling it legitimate, I mean to say that a proper government format. So China is ready, Russia is ready, Turkey is ready, Qatar is always there for Taliban. Yes, Pakistan has put in some conditions that yes, we are going to watch human rights conditions over there, and some other facts that Pakistan is not going to be attacked from Afghan soil. So I think there are going to be little diplomatic relations first, then Pakistan is going to decide upon it's going to recognize them or not. But these, having said that, keeping in view Russia, China, Turkey and Qatar well in place, and now India as well, US is not going to leave that level playing field empty for anyone. So it's going to keep its share, but it's also going to keep the international community in a haze. That I'm not going to recognize them, but I'm recognizing them, so I'm sending my cash in. So this is the game US is right now. So they have to pacify their masses as well, because the US administration has to be responsible in a manner, because they lost 2,500 US soldiers to Afghanistan's war. So right now they are pacifying the sentiment of a common American, then they'll be deciding upon that.
Now, Sumaira, let's talk about India. Obviously, India has been a peace spoiler in the region, and that has been proven many a times. Now, the Kabul government, the previous government, used to be pro-India, and now the Taliban are in control of Afghanistan. How are the relationship going to pan out between the Taliban and India, with the Taliban knowing for a fact, again, that India has already begun hybrid war against the regime, as we have seen a lot of media misinformation campaigns about Taliban?
They are very clever in this thing, and I always call the current Taliban setup a diplomatically clever regime. they are diplomatically clever. They spent years in fighting, and they spent years in understanding the layout of international community. They know it more. They know it better more than me and you, where to handle who. And they are literally doing it right now. They know how to handle India. They know how to handle Russia. They know how to handle Turkey and China and America, as a matter of fact. So right now, when I was interviewing Zabihullah Mujahid last month, and he said it very clearly, that we always know who's doing what to us. So we just want to forget about everything, and we want to have normal diplomatic ties with all the countries. And you know why they would be doing it? They don't want any kind of obstacle in the way that comes and hampers the procedure of legitimacy for their upcoming government. So I think right now they are very sweet. They are very okay going. I'm okay. I'm fine with you. Just come and take us aboard. So right now, yes, they will be doing it, and they should do it. So if they claim to bring a normalcy kind of scenario to Afghanistan, they will be kind of sweet towards India as well.
Right, Sumaira, we've heard statements coming out of the Taliban with respect to the Kashmir dispute, which is one of the biggest between India and Pakistan. You were with them. What are the Taliban's approach to the Kashmir dispute between Pakistan and India, if you have any idea, if you've had a talk with them?
I think they were very clear in that scenario, but I felt it inappropriate to ask a question from a person who still have, they are still in a process to legitimize their government. So there is no diplomatic corridor between Pakistan and India and Afghanistan, and there is still no diplomatic corridor between Afghanistan and India. So why to ask a question that they don't have any answer for, or they don't have any legitimacy to pose like that as a government? Yes, I can respond to your question, but it was a part of our interviews earlier, and there was still, I think, I just heard Suhail Shaheen saying, speaking to some Western media outlet, that he did say that as a Muslim and as part of Muslim Ummah, yes, we have our reservations for the Kashmiri Muslims. So it shows that they are kind of demanding a mature behavior from every one of us, that first let us form a government at least, then we'll be on those things to settle.
The reason I asked you this question, because we see a lot of frustration on the Indian side.
I can imagine, yes.
We see a lot of frustration on the Indian side.
And they're asking silly questions from all the spokespersons. And you must have heard Suhail Shaheen saying, when one of the Indian anchor asked that majority of your capable people are leaving Afghanistan, and he said that, I'll ask you, once you have an American aircraft announcing that, come, I'm just boarding you for free, I'll see who's there, who's not going to there.
Absolutely.
Board that plane.
Absolutely.
So I think they are very diplomatically, they are very clever. Evil-mindedness. So I saw that. They are responding to every question and query like they already know the questionnaire. So simply the credit goes to the evilness.
So you saw Taliban 1.0, or did you see a Taliban 2.0?
Yes, I saw them, and I would say they've changed a bit. Right now I can say that they have changed a bit. Why? Because even I'm waiting for the proper government installation. Once it's done, I think the real face comes out then.
Right. Now, is there a sense of security prevailing in the public in Afghanistan after the Taliban have taken over? Obviously, in the previous government, we used to see a lot of hard law and order placement that no one used to even imagine of maybe stealing or doing anything wrong, which is against the law.
It still exists, Munib. I saw people leaving their shops open for the prayers. And I'm speaking about Shahr-e-Naw. Shahr-e-Naw is the busiest market. The foot soldiers are not everywhere, but the scare is there. Even a Talib is not there with his gun or a machine gun.
There's no protection.
There is no protection, but even their name is enough to scare people, because yes, they apprehended few people who were impostoring in their name, and they were car lifting, and they were stealing from women and everything. But once the gangs were busted, they called people to recognize their belongings and valuables. They returned them, and they announced that we are not part of any such thing, and you can freely leave your shops open. Nobody is going to steal anything from your shop. And a 50 years old man in one of the busiest streets of Shahr-e-Naw, Kuche Gul Faroshi, I think I did a live from there as well. He did say that I left my shop open for the Zohar prayers and I just came back. It's just like I was here. I was praying I was offering my prayers right here. So I think sense of security has come back to Kabul, specifically to the business community. They are happy from a point of view that there is no extortion. Nobody comes and asks for any extra charges. There is no encroachment on the road. People are they know that if they do that, they are going to get their due. So that was little pleasant for me. Even I could walk on the streets like till midnight. Earlier I was being Pakistani, every friend of mine, every Afghan, like whoever I had, even the people from government quarters, they used to advise me not to come out of my residence or hotel because I'm a Pakistani, I can be hit or I can be targeted. So
but now you can go out freely.
I was, and every woman, I used to walk on the hotel where I was staying. It's a pleasant place, the Faroshgah Street, and I used to walk on that road. But they were Talib, there was a foot soldier, but they were there to secure me, and I did not feel any hazard from there.
Right now, all right, speaking about the economic side of Afghanistan's recovery, obviously, the US has frozen their assets. China, Russia, Turkey, Qatar, you said, and obviously also to some extent Pakistan, based on certain conditions, is there to back Afghanistan. But what is the plan right now, obviously, to recover the frozen assets, and how do the Taliban plan to form the government, and who are we going to see on major positions?
I think it's the, obviously we are hearing that tomorrow it's Jummah prayer, and we are expecting them to announce the government formation right after Jummah prayer. I heard that Supreme Leader, who's going to be Supreme Leader, the only name is coming out is Mullah Haibatullah Khunzada, and I heard that he's going to offer Jummah prayer in Pul-e-Khishti Mosque, which is the ancient mosque of Kabul. But right now there is a bit change of plan. The Jummah prayer is going to be offered in Urg Palace, the known as Presidential Palace. But on key slots, yes, I had already predicted that they are of the view that why not to take the entire share? Why we have to instill Hamid Karzai, or why we have to install Abdullah? Why only those faces who have been cushioning the forces against us? They have been fighting against us. It was the fight that was wholly solely launched by us against the foreign occupation. It was fought by us. We lost many people as martyrs. So why not? We are not bound to have lion's share. We can have the whole share. So right now they are including the ethnicities. It will be broad-based, but the key slots, they are obviously going to Sirajuddin Haqqani, Mullah Yaqub, and Anas Haqqani, and the other personalities who were Abdul Ghani Baradar, obviously. So in the presence of these 4 or 5 big names, I don't see place for any other phase unless they get pressurized from the international community. But I don't think they are going to take that pressure, because even without any kind of recognition for their government, they are very confident. They are receiving heavy revenues from all the border trade crossings, including 2 from Pakistan, the largest 2, Chaman Speen Boldak and Torkham and Ningarhar, and the third very important is Nimroz province's Zaranj. Zaranj is the only key crossing to the only seaport way towards Iran. So I think they are having a good time ahead, and China and Russia, according to my sources, they have offered them their unconditional support. China, Russia, and Qatar and Turkey.
Nice.
So if these 4 countries are there, I don't think so. And UK has already hinted that we are going to have our diplomatic relationship.
Yep.
Germany has hinted upon. So who is left over there? France? France is always looking towards America. Whatever is America's decision, France is going to obey that. So when it comes to Pakistan, yes, Pakistan is going to adopt a different strategy this time, because we always get tagged that we are pro-Taliban. So Pakistan needs a little time to decide its own.
Now, talking about this pro-Taliban, what are the public sentiments in Afghanistan about Pakistan?
Don't ask me that. Because I have to, it's going to be like a truth game, truth or dare, but I'll pick up the truth thing. Yes, there is anti-Pakistan sentiment, and
obviously there had been a 20
years nurturing of an entire generation that has been taught that Taliban are monsters and Pakistan is a monster's accomplice. So, and we just got to know many things, that we used to give them scholarships in thousands, paid scholarships. And on the other hand, India was not giving them those kinds of
more than
scholarships.
3 million refugees in Pakistan.
Refugees here, and a lot more. Like if we just talk about it, Jinnah Hospital, one of the biggest hospitals of Kabul, with all the machinery and all the infrastructure, we gave it to them. Logar Hospital, and a lot of development projects. But on the other hand, what India was doing, India was not handing them over all the cash and all the scholarships. It was installing its teacher on the basic levels in Afghan schools. And like teaching Afghan kids from the basic levels, you are teaching them against Pakistan. So why not to expect them being venomous towards Pakistan? That was the core reason that Indian teachers have been teaching them that Pakistan is totally against you, and whatever has been happening in Afghanistan, even prior Pakistan came into being, Pakistan is responsible for that. So rest of the stories, you know how best they are in concocting all the stories.
So Taliban has two tasks here. One is to clear their own name, obviously, in the eyes of the public, to present a softer image, of not a monstrous image, and also to get rid of all this curriculum which was against the Taliban and also Pakistan. Right now, lastly, do you have any idea of the formation of what type of government are they planning to form? Is it going to be, we've heard rumors coming out of our reporters that it's going to be somewhat like the Iranian-based government?
A bit different from that. Yes, there will be shura, there will be cabinet members, a prime minister, but there will be a supreme leader. Because they fought this 20 years long war in the name of Islamic law and in the name of Islamic system. So they have to install that system. Otherwise, their foot soldier, the entire regiment is going to, they are going to be in a disarray. That it's not that cause we have been fighting for. So just to avoid that discord within the quarters and within the files, rank and files, they have to stick to the demands of their rank and files. And the rank and file, they are demanding for the supreme leader's installation, for a shura, Islamic Sharia, and the law that totally comes under the Islamic system that was installed by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the only demand from a common Talib, from its own, and he very dearly he demands that from its own leadership. So we could feel that even the Talib leadership is under pressure to bring that system, but with little modification towards women and children, and little open-heartedness.
Maybe a better understanding of Islam?
Yeah, towards youth as well. So they are right now in a process to draft those changes, to how to present these changes to its old school Talib. So I'm happy and I'm satisfied that the hardcore leadership is of the view that they cannot move forward, they cannot excel without bringing those changes. They cannot earn the international community's confidence and legitimacy. So I think that's the only thing. And since Pakistan has already placed its cards in front of them that we are not going to recognize any state that has been forcibly taken or militarily taken. So you must have noticed the first step towards Kabul. Kabul did not fall. They did not take it over. It just invited them to come and take them over. That was the first sign.
Talking about Sharia law, which they are planning to implement in the country, there are different sects of Islam in Afghanistan and with different Islamic ideology.
Yes.
Are they on the same page to form an inclusive Sharia-based government?
Munib, if you have studied Afghanistan, you will still be in a kind of not sure kind of thing. And even I'm not sure, because this sect thing is taken very seriously amongst the Afghans. And whenever they had a civil war, it was based on this sect thing and all the division amongst their beliefs and faiths. But right now, the main battle is going on between the ISISK, which is the follower of Salafis, and Taliban. They belong to the Deobandi sect. So obviously, there is going to be little clash, but I'm not seeing a gigantic clash because everybody knows that after 20 years, if we have that slot, we have to be like, we have to stick together. Otherwise, we lose it to another foreign force in the days ahead.
All right, Sumaira Khan, it was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank
now,
you so much.
very quickly, last comments, if you have to say anything about the future of Taliban in Afghanistan, anything.
I would only wish for a prosperous Afghanistan, an Afghanistan that belongs to an Afghan. And there is no foreign hand in Afghanistan, no foreign hand against another foreign hand, because Pakistan has been suffering a lot because of that foreign involvement over there. But credit goes to Pakistan as well, that Pakistan has survived alongside an extreme hostility for last 20 years. We lost too many, but still we are looking forward to a prosperous Afghanistan.
And we hope that...
And we are there to help them out.
Pakistan is there to help Afghan become a prosperous nation and succeed in the world. And we need also women like Sumaira Khan who can represent the true Pakistani women, and which she has done. And thank you very much for being here. And you've done a great job in Afghanistan. And lastly, we need women who are so strong, they can be gentle, so educated, they can be humble, so fierce, they can be compassionate, and so passionate, they can be rational, and so disciplined, they can be free. This was Newswire. Thank you very much for watching.